It is 9 o'clock on a Friday morning. Mark opens his banking app before he even gets out of bed. The notification is already there. Direct deposit. $115,000 a year, divided into 26 clean payments. And here is today's installment, sitting in his account like a quiet promise. For exactly 2 seconds, he feels it. That flush of warmth, that brief chemical signal that everything is going to be okay. Then his eyes drift down to the credit card balance. Due next week. And just like that, the warmth is gone. By the time you finish watching this, the way you think about a high salary will have changed permanently. Not slightly adjusted, not nudged. Permanently changed, because what you are about to see is not a story about someone who made bad decisions. It is a story about someone who made all the right ones, followed every unspoken rule about what success is supposed to look like, and ended up more financially trapped than the people earning half his salary. You are about to stop confusing income with wealth, and that single shift will change every financial decision you make from this point forward. Mark is 32 years old. He is a creative director at a mid-sized advertising agency in the city. He is good at his job. Actually, he is exceptional at it, which is why 5 years ago, when he was making $55,000 a year and sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate, his career started to accelerate. The promotions came. The raises followed. 1 year, it was $68,000, then $80,000. Then, 2 years ago, he crossed into 6 figures for the first time and felt something shift inside him, a kind of arrival. The sense that the long part of the climb was finally behind him. Now he makes $115,000 a year. He is making more than double what he made 5 years ago. He is, by almost every external measure, succeeding. And yet, lying in that bed, staring at his banking app on a Friday morning, his heart rate is climbing. Here's the brutal math. $115,000 a year sounds like a lot of money. And it is a lot of money, until you watch what happens to it. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security contributions, health insurance, and his 401k deduction, Mark's actual take-home pay is $6,400 a month. Not $100,000, not even close. $6,400 lands in his account every 30 days, and the system is waiting for it before it even arrives. $2,600 goes to rent. He lives in a downtown loft, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of apartment that photographs beautifully and communicates very clearly to anyone who visits that Mark has made it. It is a status object. It is also the single largest financial drain in his life. $800 goes to the Tesla. He leased it 22 months ago. He did not buy it. He leases it, which means he owns nothing and pays everything. The car is stunning. It turns heads. It beeps when he reverses. It costs him nearly $10,000 a year just to have the right to drive it. $500 goes to what he loosely calls his wellness expenses. The premium gym with the rooftop sauna, the meditation app, the nutrition coaching subscription, the music streaming service, the podcast service, the cloud storage, the software tools he signed up for during the pandemic and quietly forgot to cancel. $1,200 goes to what the budgeting apps would classify as food and transportation. Dinners out 3 or 4 times a week because he is tired after long shoots, and he tells himself he deserves it. Ubers because he does not want to wait for the subway after midnight. Organic groceries, because he read something about inflammation 18 months ago and now feels vaguely guilty buying the regular eggs. And then there is the $700 minimum payment on the credit card. This is the number Mark tries not to think about directly. He makes the minimum payment. The balance stays almost exactly the same. The interest compounds quietly in the background. A slow leak he cannot quite locate. Add it up. $2,600, $800, $500, $1,200, $700. That is $7,800 in fixed and semi-fixed monthly expenses. Mark earns $6,400 a month. He is spending more than he makes before he has made a single discretionary choice. He is already in the red before the month begins. The $600 that remains by the 3rd of every month is not savings. It is not breathing room. It is simply the money that has not yet found a destination. Here is the concept that will make everything click into place. Think of Mark not as a person managing money, but as a pipe, a conduit. Money flows in from his employer at one end and flows out to institutions at the other. The loft landlord, the Tesla finance company, the subscription services, the restaurant industry, the credit card company. Mark is not accumulating wealth. He is transmitting it. His paycheck does not stop at him. It passes through him, and every institution in his life has engineered their product to be exactly expensive enough that he can afford it on his salary, but just barely, never giving him enough surplus to escape. This is the conduit trap, and it is not an accident. The conduit trap is not something that happens to people who are reckless with money. It is something that happens specifically to people who are doing what they were told success looks like. And understanding why Mark ended up inside it requires going back to the moment it started. When Mark got promoted to creative director, something happened that was never spoken out loud, but was felt completely. He looked around at his new peers, his new clients, the spaces he was now expected to move through, and he understood implicitly that he had to look the part. The luxury apartment was not indulgence. It was infrastructure. It was a signal. It told clients, colleagues, dates, and his own reflection that he belonged in the rooms he was now being invited into. The Tesla was not a car. It was a costume. And the first time he drove it off the lot, the feeling was not frivolous. It was specific and powerful and real. It felt like proof. It felt like he had finally arrived. Society confirmed this feeling. The Instagram posts of the apartment got more engagement than anything else he posted. The colleagues noticed the car. His parents told their friends about his salary with unmistakable pride. Every external signal told him that upgrading his lifestyle was the same thing as upgrading his life. He was rewarded constantly for the performance of wealth, and so he confused the performance with the thing itself. This is the invisible mechanism inside the conduit trap. Status spending is self-reinforcing. Every purchase that signals success also raises the floor of what you now need to maintain the appearance of that success. You can never quietly retreat. The loft sets the standard. The car confirms it. The restaurant bills are now the minimum expected behavior for someone who lives and drives the way Mark does. The lifestyle is no longer a series of choices. It has become an identity, and identities are the most expensive things a person can own. About 8 months ago, something shifted for Mark in a way he could not articulate to anyone. He started waking up on Sunday nights with a low, pressurized feeling in his chest. The work he once found genuinely stimulating started feeling like a performance he was giving on behalf of people he did not particularly like, toward outcomes he was not sure he believed in. He started reading about smaller studios, independent agencies, creative collectives where the pace was slower and the work felt more honest. He found a role that genuinely excited him. The salary was $82,000, a $33,000 cut. He ran the numbers. He could not do it. Literally, mathematically, the numbers did not work. His fixed monthly expenses required a take-home salary above a specific threshold, and that threshold was not negotiable because the lease was locked in. The Tesla payments were locked in. The minimum card payment was locked in. Every object he had purchased to celebrate his arrival and signal his freedom had become a physical constraint on his actual freedom. he was wearing handcuffs. They were made of premium leather and stainless steel, and they had been polished to a beautiful finish, but they functioned identically to iron ones. This is what the conduit trap does at its most vicious. It does not just drain your money. It drains your options. It takes away your ability to say no. It turns every potential exit from a situation you hate into a financial impossibility. Mark could not walk away. Not because he lacked courage, because he lacked margin. Then came the bonus. $15,000, deposited in December as a year-end performance reward. Mark stared at it the same way a drowning person stares at a rope. This was it. This was the moment the pressure would finally release. It lasted 72 hours. He paid down the credit card balance he had quietly accumulated over the past 4 months using what he thought of as temporary spending. The dinner with clients he put on his personal card. The flights for the long weekend he told himself he deserved. The concert tickets, the birthday dinners, the small emergencies that are never truly emergencies, but always feel like they are. That absorbed $7,000. The car needed unexpected maintenance, $1,800, not negotiable. And then, because Mark was genuinely exhausted, because he had been working nights and weekends and pushing through a level of stress that had become his permanent operating temperature, he booked 4 nights in Mexico, $3,200. He told himself it was not a luxury, it was a medical necessity. He was burning out and he needed to reset, or he would fall apart entirely. And if he fell apart entirely, the whole thing collapsed. This logic was not entirely wrong. But it was also the logic of someone who has no financial cushion and so treats every emotional release as an emergency expenditure. The bonus was gone. His financial baseline was unchanged. Not a single structural element of the conduit trap had been altered. More money had arrived, and the system had simply consumed it faster. Now ask yourself the hardest question in this story. It is Monday morning. Mark's company announces a restructuring. His badge stops working at 9 o'clock. His access to the systems is revoked. His email bounces. He is out. How long does he have? With 0 liquid savings, with his current fixed monthly expenses, with his current credit card balance, Mark has approximately 45 days before his car is repossessed and he misses his first rent payment. 45 days. He is 32 years old. He earns $115,000 a year. He is 45 days away from the beginning of a genuine financial crisis. Not because he is reckless, not because he is foolish, because the conduit trap does not require its victims to be either. It only requires that they keep moving money through the pipe fast enough that nothing accumulates on the other side. He is not the master of his fate. He is a highly predictable, highly reliable revenue stream for his landlord, his car finance company, and his bank. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And here is the thing about the conduit trap. Seeing it is the first step out of it, because the trap only works as long as you believe the rules you are playing by are your own. The moment you understand that the rules were written by the institutions that profit from your compliance, you are allowed to write new ones. Mark reached this moment on a Tuesday night in February, sitting in his beautiful apartment, looking at his beautiful view, and feeling the specific hollowness of someone who has everything and nothing simultaneously. He pulled up a spreadsheet, not to track what he had spent. He already knew what he had spent. He pulled it up to map what he needed to exist versus what he was currently paying for the performance of existing. He separated his actual needs from his status infrastructure, and what he saw on that spreadsheet was clarifying in a way that nothing else had been. He was not broke. He was misaligned. He was spending his income on signals instead of security. He was purchasing a theater set and calling it a home. The work of rebuilding was not complicated. It was uncomfortable. There is a significant difference. When his lease came up 4 months later, he moved. Not to another luxury building, to a clean, unremarkable one-bedroom in a quieter neighborhood. $1,700 a month instead of $2,600. He ended the Tesla lease at the earliest legal opportunity and absorbed the early termination fee, because even that fee, paid once, was cheaper than continuing the monthly drain. He replaced it with a 4-year-old paid-off car he bought outright. It did not turn heads. It started reliably and cost him nothing beyond gas and insurance. He audited his subscriptions on a Sunday afternoon and canceled everything he could not describe the last time he used it. He stopped eating out as a default and started eating out as a deliberate choice, meaning it happened less and felt genuinely better when it did. Within 90 days, his monthly expenses had dropped from $7,800 to $4,400. His take-home was $6,400. He had $2,000 of surplus per month for the first time in his adult working life. He moved it automatically, on the first of every month before he could make a single decision about it, into an investment account. He did not look at it frequently. He did not celebrate it. He simply let it accumulate. Something else happened that he did not anticipate. The anxiety that had been his background operating system for 3 years quietly reduced. Not because he had solved all of his financial problems, he had not, but because, for the first time, the number in his account on the 3rd of the month was not $60. It was real money. Money that had not already been promised to someone else. Money that existed as pure possibility. And the psychological weight of that was staggering in the most peaceful way. Here is the reframe that stays with you. Wealth is not what you own. Wealth is not the apartment you rent, or the car you drive, or the gym you swipe into. Wealth is not visible. Wealth is specifically and entirely what you do not see. It is the unspent money sitting quietly in accounts, growing in the background, asking for nothing. The person with the modest car and the unremarkable apartment and the completely unglamorous financial life may be carrying more actual freedom in their checking account than anyone at the dinner table would guess. And the person at the head of that table, the one in the beautiful clothes with the enviable address and the impressive job title, may be 45 days from a crisis that would erase everything the image promised. A high salary is a tool. It is the most powerful financial tool most people will ever have access to. But a tool used to buy status buys a prison. The same tool used to buy time, to build margin, to create the quiet and irreversible ability to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. That tool buys freedom. The salary does not determine your freedom. The gap between what you earn and what you owe does. The salary does not determine your freedom. The gap between what you earn and what you owe does. Wealth is not the number on your offer letter. Wealth is simply the power to say no. The quiet, unannounced, completely invisible confidence of knowing that if everything changed on Monday, you would be okay. Not forever, not perfectly, but enough. Enough to choose, enough to breathe, enough to walk. That is the only number worth building toward. I will see you in the next one, where we ask the question nobody in your office is asking out loud. At what exact number does your salary stop making your life better and start making it more expensive?